Right, today we're going to ask Spencer and Rory to rank the 5 best managers since Sir Alex Ferguson left the club, to see where Erik ten Hag stacks up against those bosses. Each of our guests are going to do their own list. There's 6 candidates to pick from because they've got to have managed over 20 games for Manchester United, so that discounts the likes of Michael Carrick, who were there on a very, very short-term basis. We'll start with Ralf Rangnick. Have either of you got Ralf Rangnick in your top 5s?
Yes.
You have?
I have him 5th in my top 5.
Do you want to put him in the 5th slot then? Because I don't think you've got him.
I don't
Just
have
move him next to the 5, yeah. You haven't got him, Spence. Why have you not got Ralph before we come on to Rory's reasons?
This is a very counterintuitive list, in my opinion, right? Because I'm talking about what they did as managers and achieved at Man United, not necessarily what they were trying to do or what they... So I actually think Ralph came in and actually sort of addressed the problems and sort of said, look, this is a team with a lot of issues here. But he wasn't actually able to fix any of them. I don't know if any managers were able to fix any of them in the pre-Jim Ratcliffe era, at least, because I don't think they've had the tools and the ability to run the club the way they wanted to. So if I'm judging him as a manager, I just think it was a bit of a mess. He came in and, you know, whether he could have done better is a different question. So I'm not judging him like whether he was the right man for the job and all these things. I think he's come in and he's not really a manager.
Yeah.
I think he's someone you have in your club that can address. It's actually, weirdly, maybe links to what we're going to talk about later with... Like, I actually think it's what Gareth Southgate should be doing as well, to be honest. I don't actually think he should be a manager. I think he should be someone that helps identify problems in a culture, in a club. And that's what I think Ralph is, and leading a philosophy on the pitch. But as a manager, I wasn't convinced.
As a manager, how have you got Ralf Rangnick in your top 5 then, Rory?
Well, I don't necessarily disagree with anything that Spencer said there, which I think actually justifies him being here because it's a ridiculous appointment. Like Ralf Rangnick, you know when he got the job?
Yeah.
I remember Manchester United fans, there's a fantastic clip actually that goes around on social of Manchester United fans reacting to the news that he got the job. So full of it, so happy, we finally got the right man. And I didn't know too much about him, so I looked him up. Do you know what his CV was? Bearing in mind that the Manchester United job is probably what? Top 3 jobs in world football? The hot seat of Manchester United. Biggest club in England, biggest club in the Premier League. The hot seat of Manchester United. Do you know what his CV was? 1 Intertoto Cup at Stuttgart in the year 2000.
But he was being bought in to go upstairs afterwards, wasn't he? He was being bought on an initial basis.
But he was the manager.
But
he was brought in as the Manchester United manager. Never has anybody so undeserving an Intertoto Cup at Stuttgart 2 decades previous been given the keys to the fastest car in the country.
But it was just a short-term key, wasn't it? It was a key that was going to change after 6 months as he stepped upstairs. I think, in fairness to Ralph, he was thrown into a position that he wasn't necessarily the manager.
So he stinks of a lack of strategy again, because he's going to do this, he's going to do that, but he ends up leaving.
11 games, 1 of 29 in charge, win percentage is just 38%. But going back to it, you have got him in your top 5 because you don't think that's the fault of him. You think it's the appointment is the issue. I'm just trying to factor in.
I think it's symbolic. I think the appointment of Rangnick, giving him the job, is symbolic of everything that went wrong at Manchester United, and therefore he deserves to be on this list.
I think what we'll do next is we'll go to a manager that you don't have on your list, but you do have on your list.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I think, this one.
So put him on?
David
Moyes.
Yeah.
So he's in 4 for you.
4 for you. You don't have him in the top 5, Raw.
So you've got to use context here, OK? So you can think back to the year he came in and obviously you got 1 season, whatever, and, you know, didn't go amazing, right? If you actually look at what he did and the amount of games he played, the win percentage, you know, compare it to the other managers...
53% win percentage, by the way, 27 wins in 51 games.
Yeah, so obviously he came off the back of a title-winning season, right? But we all know that was not a title-winning squad that he inherited. So it's very different, for example, the Arne Slot situation with Liverpool. Arne Slot's been able to come in and not even have to buy anyone because Klopp has left him in such good shape. And that is partly why Klopp moved on when he did. Man United, Sir Alex had his own reasons for moving on, and I respect them, but there was some weaknesses in that squad that Moyes inherited, and that was a poison chalice. It was always going to be a tough gig to follow the legendary manager. In hindsight, you look back at not just Moyes, but the other managers that have followed. You look back at what he's done at West Ham, which we can't take away from, whether you like his style of football or not. He's won a European trophy, you know.
And prior to that,
improved our club.
To get that job, of course.
Improved our club, yeah. And he struggled to bounce back at first because it was a massive reputation blow, what happened to him. Probably never should have taken the job. People are probably going to say I'm being West Ham biased here. A lot of West Ham fans don't like Moyes. It's not like a West Ham across-the-board thing. It's more a case of the whole strategy stinks. From day one, since Sir Alex left, the minute Sir Alex left, the Glazers went, right, now the man who's run everything has been hiring the tea ladies and the kit men and everything, he's gone. We can run this club the way we want to run it, and it's been awful. it's been horrendous. You talk about the money they've spent. Every one of these managers, apart from maybe one, I don't like any of their performances at the club, but I don't necessarily blame them. I blame the people at the top.
Rory, you've not got Moyes in your top 5, is that right?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. I don't necessarily think that he is worthy of being on this list. If you think about the job that he did when he went into the club, it was, as Spencer said, he was given a poison chalice. Such a difficult job, such a over promotion from him. And I also think that people now, because it feels like a long time ago, I think it's very easy to kind of paint it in being a better performance than it was. Manchester United then, the standards were through the roof. They were a club that demanded the best from everyone at the club, and they were champions. And he came in, and that was the start of the demise.
You think he was worse than Rangnick?
I mean, this two bald geezers arguing over a comb here, isn't it? But yeah, I do.
Obviously, we're talking about Moyes, and we said that he was only in charge for 51 games. Obviously, took over a title-winning side. They were 9th in the table, I believe, after 15 games. So we know it didn't work out. One thing I will say, just for balance perspective, is whenever any job comes out, any TV presenter, radio presenter, in any walk of life replaces someone so big, everyone compares it to, it's like replacing Fergie. It's like everyone talks about Moyes replacing Fergie as the impossible job in any walk of life when big shoes are set to be filled. So it was almost like that was, as you described it, a poison chalice. It's always going to be a tough gig for whoever replaced Sir Alex Ferguson.
It did set the tone for everything that has come since. If that appointment had been correct, if they had appointed Mourinho then, the Manchester United of today could be a very different club.
Well, would Mourinho have taken the job? Did certain managers almost... I know he was like his choice.
I think Mourinho was keen. I think Mourinho was keen, but I think it was Sir Bobby Charlton. He said absolutely not.
Interesting. Because that's the other thing is, right, because when Moyes took over, Sir Alex was still a little bit more active, I think, involved in terms of overseeing things. And as the years have gone by, he's taken that step back. So how much harder did that make Moyes' job, essentially living in the shadow of that great man?
If we're honest, I know history will be very kind to David Moyes because of what's happened since, because of what's happened at West Ham, winning their first trophy since 1980. It's all significant and does add to the legend and aura of David Moyes. But he was never deserving of that job. He was never the correct man for that job. He'd done a very good job at Everton. He hadn't won anything. He went into the biggest club in the country, who were champions. Like, it was such a bad appointment, and he made a pig's ear of it.
All right, let's go to the next name. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer.
Yeah, I have him in...
I cannot believe... As the Manchester United voice on this sofa, I can't believe how low you two have got Ole.
I actually agree with that.
Yeah, you're mad, mate.
I think having
why
Solskjaer
do you think
five...
I'm
You've
mad?
got Red Devil tinted spectacles on.
You're thinking of the new camp. You're thinking of the new camp, 1999.
I'm not. I'm honestly
It's like when
not.
I tell you Frank Lampard was brilliant at Chelsea.
I don't think it is, though. I think there are clear differences there. I think the most exciting football United have played post Sir Alex, 100% played by Ole. I think that proves that in the numbers as well. Most goals scored in a single season. He also finished second in the league, which was an achievement that I think a manager we're going to talk about later detailed as one of his greatest ever accomplishments.
Yeah.
You know, and he's won an awful lot. And Ole was a penalty away from winning the Europa League final. I think that, yes, you might not have him high.
Against who?
Villarreal.
Right. So you should be winning that game in 90 minutes, shouldn't you?
I mean, ostensibly, yes, but Villarreal haven't had an excellent Europa League record at the time. And, like, I know that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, on paper, Manchester United have a stronger squad and spent more money, but it's never that easy, is it? Football's not played on paper. And I think Ole, overall, when we look back on his time now, it looks even more favourable.
I actually do agree with that, and it's not just the second as well. If in the 3 seasons, 6th, 3rd and 2nd, you look at the start here, I think he won 14 of his first 19 matches as manager, which was one of the best in Premier League history.
I think his first 9 games was the best.
Isn't it?
But as you're looking back on it,
just a bit silly, aren't
the
they?
PSG game, Man City
what did he win?
games.
Tell me what he won.
But
Tell me what he won.
So
Quickly tell me what he
do you
won.
think this list should
So
be
do you
based
think
just
that's all
on
about that,
trophies?
Well, it's Manchester United. He played the most games of any of these people on the list, I believe, as manager, right? He had the most games. I think Ten Hag's catching him up. But, like... And what's he won? Manchester United. No, take your spectacles off, right? So we don't care about, necessarily, as non-Man United fans, it's not my job to tell you how exciting they were. I can look at it a bit more further removed, right? I do think excitement is a massive part of it. If you ask Man United fans, just like if you ask West Ham fans, like, oh, how good was Dimitri Payet? Oh, he made me feel great. Another person could say, yeah, but what did you do with him? Like, it's about achievements. If you're asking me as a neutral person, which I think is important, what he did. I think he got given so much more time than anyone else on this list because of what he did there as a player, which maybe is worth something, but still, we're talking about people with their skills as managers. What else has he done in his managerial career? He's not a great manager. He's not a good manager, in my opinion.
I think he's underrated. I think he's been really underrated. Probably not.
No, okay.
No, but I don't think that's a disrespect on what he was able to achieve with that team. Which was not a trophy, but it was definitely progression in the moment. I totally agree. Towards the back end, you know, it became untenable, didn't it? I think it was 1 win in 7, that 4-1 loss to Watford. Yeah. That is when it became untenable. But you can't take away there were some extremely high moments in that.
If Klopp had just left Liverpool, right, and had done everything he'd done, but not won the trophies, I'd say the exact same thing. And that's a different situation because Liverpool were coming. No, because Liverpool were coming from an era of really not being, apart from a Champions League with Rafa, really not being an amazing side. We've all grown up in Man United like they are the team, no one can beat them. It's amazing how quickly.
So why have you got him
below Moyes? So you think the job Moyes did at Man United was better than the job Ole Gunnar Solskjaer did at Man United?
This is where it's subjective, right? It's not so much about. It's about the tools they had and how hard it was. I think he had a harder job because he had to follow, and I think he was mistreated. I don't think the fact that he was given a season. He should not have been given more than a season based on the same logic of what he got.
But Ollie's first season at Man United was excellent.
Yeah, but
14 wins.
How much money had been spent on that squad by the time Solskjaer got it? Now, I know a lot of money had been spent under Sir Alex, of course, but I think...
Had it been spent correctly, though? We were speaking a minute ago about the ownership not sort of managing downwards very well, not putting people in the right spot.
Yeah, that's why I say all these guys on this list, there's another list that should be made, which is the top 20 owners in the Premier League, and your owners are right at the bottom, in my opinion, because what the asset they've taken over and what they've done to it.
Also, to focus on the first 14 games, to focus on the exciting football, it's not focusing on the whole picture. It was so turgid by the end. It was so toxic by the end.
But in his second season, he finished second.
No, but again, you know when you come with stats and facts like that, that tells us part of the story, but it doesn't tell us the whole story. What it tells us is that maybe the league wasn't particularly strong that year. I don't know who finished third. I can't remember off the top of my head. But that doesn't mean that it's acceptable. It doesn't mean that the performances were acceptable. And Manchester United, under Solskjaer, if you can cast your minds back to the feeling around the club, it felt so flat.
Towards the end, I agree.
I think it was actually third, second season, second, third season, wasn't it? Sixth, third, second.
Yeah, I think that.
So there's actually improvement in that. But
I think if Moyes,
if you're judging it on trophies, then that's one angle. It depends how it's your list and how
if he gets the games he got, he wins a trophy. In my opinion, if he gets the games that he got, it's as much chance at least to get a trophy than he did.
Well, I'm very surprised you got him so low. But should we go to the next?
Let's move on to the next one. Yeah, let's go. Who should we do next? Louis van Gaal.
Yeah,
I've got Van Gaal next.
Obviously, so you've got Louis above Ollie.
Yeah.
I mean, he's
based on that one FA Cup.
Undoubtedly a better manager.
Exactly. It's based on his
undoubtedly a better manager.
In a wider context, yeah, you know, what he's achieved at Ajax and Barcelona, I totally agree. But as Manchester United boss, do you think he did a better job than Ole?
In my opinion, if he played for Man United and he didn't, we wouldn't have this discussion.
Agreed.
100% we wouldn't have this discussion.
I think it's admirable, the love that you're demonstrating to Solskjaer. I totally empathise with it. But I also think that it almost makes your take on it redundant because you have such a love, because you have such an apparent love for Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. I think that if we just remember how Manchester United fans were feeling during the back end of that Solskjaer era, I think it's possibly lower than it's ever been.
But I think you could say the same thing of Louis van Gaal. You know, the season when United
scored... Louis van Gaal finish with a cup?
He finished with the FA Cup, but I think that covered up an awful lot. The season when United scored 49 league goals, like the football, the 4-0 loss to MK Dons, there was low points in that one as well.
Good side.
Spent 260 million, the likes of Di Maria, Martial, Shaw, Depay, Schneiderlin, Schweinsteiger, Herrera did win the FA Cup. So, Spencer, am I right in thinking a big part of your list is based on trophies, and that's why you have Van Gaal over the others? Is it because ultimately he did win a trophy? Is that where your logic comes into it?
Trophies, games played, amount of time they were given. Like, that's essentially...
Do you think prestige counts as well? So, for example, although it didn't work with Van Gaal long-term, Louis van Gaal was a noble appointment, an appointment that could have worked, an appointment that suited the stature of the club. And, OK, not all of them are going to work, but it was an appointment that you could see working. Appointing the geezer from Mulder, appointing the geezer who won an Intertoto Cup, they're bad appointments. They're never going to work. At least Louis van Gaal...
Joe really wants to jump at. You're not.
This is why I think this list is somewhat arbitrary, because the issue is I don't think anyone was ever going to be good in that era because of the owners. And maybe now, and Jim Ratcliffe's come in and he's got a bit more say in things, I think it could turn.
There was one era where it could have been good. I truly believe that if they'd got the appointment correct when Sir Alex Ferguson left, that first appointment, when they went with Moyes, I think that was such a pivotal moment, and everything that we've learned about Manchester United since then can actually be traced back to getting that appointment.
But I think that without a Sir Alex type in charge, i.e. someone that had the keys to the city and could do whatever they wanted, and obviously was a world-class manager, combined with that, it was never going to work under those owners, and no manager's been given that luxury.
But the only kind of person that's going to get the keys to the kingdom is a European Cup winner with heritage and prestige, not the fella from Everton who hasn't won a trophy.
Well, let's move on to let's see your 2 and 1
Yeah.
together, because there's no point revealing just the one, is there? So we may as well see who you've got a 1, who you've got a 2. Wow.
So you've got the same...
Let's see Jose.
Same top 2.
So why have you gone those 2 in that order?
Right, I actually think Ten Hag's rubbish. Just going to say that out there, right? This is a sort of me coming at my own list here.
Definitely a Spencer opinion.
Those are the thoughts of Spencer.
I think Ten Hag is no good. I think the only reason he's still there is because Jim Ratcliffe has got a bit of loyalty about him, and they've won a trophy last year. If that trophy wasn't there, I think he's already
And
gone.
you've got to contextualise last season as having massive injury problems,
Yes.
still managing to get over the line.
Of course, I was going to get to that. He ruined. He had to deal with Ronaldo. He had
The
to deal with
first
all these...
season was excellent.
Yeah, he had to deal with a lot of issues. 100%. I completely respect that. I can't get over the lack of judgment he's done in some of his transfers. The amount of money he's given Eredivisie clubs and potentially his agent as well. Some people that have come in are it's criminal. He managed Kudus. He let us buy him for a third of the price you bought Anthony. Who would you rather have right now?
It's huge.
Right? That's on him. That's on him. He's the expertise there. He has made a lot of poor transfers. Now, transfers have improved this summer. I think really like the transfers. He's also got really unlucky that, Højlund's got himself injured and obviously Euro's injured as well, right? And they've got a lot of these areas improved, but I'm not giving him the credit for that because they've made appointments behind the scenes that I think are a massive part of that. And I think his time is very much numbered. I'm very uninspired by him. I think he has dealt with some difficult issues, but he's had a lot of games and he's been saved by a couple of...
OK, those are Spencer's thoughts.
Yeah,
Rory,
I mean,
what do you think?
I think that Erik Ten Hag, speaking really broadly here, has done a fairly good job. Overall, if you think about the club that he came into, if you think about that first season, if you think about all of the issues that he's had to deal with, handling that Cristiano Ronaldo issue, I thought he handled it perfectly. The way that he dealt with Jadon Sancho, he gave Jadon Sancho time off to try and rediscover his form, to try and find himself, and was treated abysmally. Jadon Sancho effectively declared war on him, pinned something to the top of his social media profile. Makes life almost impossible for a manager. I think Ten Hag has got an awful lot right, and that's why he's so high. It's not necessarily about Van Gaal or Solskjaer. I just feel like Ten Hag needs to be up there consecutive seasons with silverware. I don't know if I'm going mad here, but I feel like people are so sneery towards silverware now. Winning silverware is the dream. Winning silverware is the ambition. Winning silverware is historic. This geezer's done it twice in a row. Like, he has made history. And also, let's remember the significance of the cup win last season. Not only was it a cup win for Manchester United, which in itself is historic and worthy of exactly.
Yeah.
It's what it meant. It's beating Manchester City. It's stopping Manchester City winning the double. It's stopping Manchester City, in fact, winning the double-double. And he did that. And every single time you think that it's over for Ten Hag, every single time you think that the players have given up on him or whatever, they never have.
Do you know what's interesting about that debate?
It's important. That is ultimately why I have him on the list.
Do you know what's interesting about that debate is exactly what the debate is this week. Is obviously you've pointed to the fact that the money spent over 600 million in three summers, I believe it is, and obviously you've pointed to the fact that he has won back-to-back trophies. So it is a debate that will rumble on. Jose Mourinho, just very quickly, easy one.
He's a jewel in the crown here. He's a jewel in the crown. They just got the timing wrong. They've just got the timing wrong. Again, you've got to remember that Jose Mourinho took that Manchester United team that felt like they were in quite a difficult place. He took them to Sweden and they beat Ajax in a European final. Like, that's amazing. I don't know when we all became so
Won the League Cup
dismissive of silverware.
Yeah, and I think exactly silverware is ultimately the main thing on this list, I think. And then I don't think Jose is now what he was. I think his time has come and gone, as it happens to all of us. But I think that of this list, he was the one that was able to come into quite a challenging environment and get things done.
OK, so there is confirmation of who Spencer and Rory agree are the best five managers since Sir Alex Ferguson left. Let us know what you think of that. I think Joe disagreed with a couple of those selections based on your body language, but let us know what you think at home.